There are minority populations living across the globe. Oftentimes, they are incredibly unique, even though they might be in plain view. So in order to lead you down the path of discovery, we bring you 5 unique minorities you've never heard of. Many people might believe the Basque people to be just a subset of the larger French and Spanish populations they are surrounded by, but nothing could be further from the truth. The reality is that the Basque people, who live in what is called Basque Country, nestled between France and Spain, are truly unique. The Basque people have retained distinctive genetic markers that separate them from the surrounding populations, and perhaps more importantly, they speak a language unrelated to any other known language in the world.
Hori lehenengo urtea izan zen. Bigarrena asko hobeto igo daroa. Bi gauzagatik. Lehenengoa...
The Basque are thought to be a holdover from a previous era, before the more populous and numerous Indo-Europeans overran Europe. This unique identity has sometimes been a problem for the Basque, as in the past organizations such as the ETA, which stands for Euskadita Askatasuna, or Basque Country and Freedom, would sometimes resort to violence and terrorism to get their way, seeking a separate nation-state for the Basque people. Things have calmed down a bit in the last few decades, and more importantly, the Basque have left their legacy on other things as well. For example, the Spanish word for left is izquierda, and is ultimately derived from the Basque language. The Ainu are a nearly forgotten people living primarily on the northern island of Hokkaido in Japan. They are thought to be the first inhabitants of the island, though their ultimate history has been lost to time. They appear physically distinct from the Japanese in the sense that, though being Asian genetically, they appear almost European looking, and their culture remains distinct from Japanese culture as well. The Ainu have always been hunter-gatherers, hunting the abundance of game that was formerly present on the island of Hokkaido. However, over time, through a process of cultural assimilation and pressure from the majority Japanese population, much of Ainu culture has disappeared, including the unique language, which has fewer than 100 speakers left. The reality is that the legacy of the Ainu is largely gone, and has only been preserved in things such as music and traditional art. Like many ancient peoples of the world, the transition from tradition to modernity has not been kind to the Ainu. The Sami are an indigenous Finno-Ugric people inhabiting the northernmost parts of Scandinavia and parts of northwestern Russia. Although their language is distantly related to Finnish, the traditions of the Sami, as well as their cultural practices, remain distinct from those of their Finnish and Scandinavian neighbors. Like many indigenous peoples, the Sami have struggled to maintain their way of life while at the same time attempting to cope with the modern reality of Scandinavian culture. Norway in particular has been criticized internationally for the forced Norwegianization of the Sami people in an effort to assimilate the Sami into a monolithic Norwegian culture. Sami are traditional reindeer herders and receive almost all they need from the reindeer, ranging from meat to fur and beyond. Traditional garb tends to be colorful red and blue and designed to keep the wearer warm in the Arctic climate the Sami hail from. Unlike the Ainu, though the Sami are a minority, they have been able to persist and cling to their ancient heritage, in part because of the more accommodating nature of their majority population neighbors compared to the Japanese in places such as Sweden and Finland. The Kashubians are a minority population within Poland with their own distinct traditions, language, and sense of identity. Most famously, the current president of the European Council, Donald Tusk, is a Kashubian. Historically, the Kashubians have struggled to maintain their own identity next to a competing majority Polish culture and have had mixed results. During the World War II and Communist era, they were distrusted by both the Nazis and the Poles, and were often considered disloyal to whatever the political flavor of the time had been, be it National Socialism or Communism. Fortunately for the Kashubians, in recent years, they've had more success in garnering cultural recognition, as the language is the only regional language recognized in Poland besides Polish, and people tend to be more open than in former years. The Yakuts are a large tribe of people native to the Sakha Republic of Russia, or Yakutia, far to the north and east of what many traditionally think of when they think of Russia. The Yakuts speak a Turkic language distantly related to the Turkish and Uzbek languages, but that is where the similarities end. Having been geographically isolated for millennia, the Yakuts have adapted to the climate of their region. Appearance-wise, many appear distinctly East Asian, and traditionally, the Yakuts engage either in semi-nomadic hunter-gathering in the more northern parts of the Sakha Republic, or animal husbandry in the more southern parts. Unlike many of the other people spoken of, The Yakuts have their own region to themselves, and though they retain their language and culture, the vast majority are bilingual in both Yakut and Russian, since Russian is required for job and educational purposes, in addition to having been essential in the Soviet Union's communist indoctrination process. Strikingly, Yakutia also has the honor of hosting the coldest city in the world, which is Oymyakon, where the temperatures can drop to a startling -50 Celsius or -58 Fahrenheit. This might seem intolerable to you, but to the Yakuts, it's just part of everyday life in Siberia. For more top lists just like this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out our other lists. And thanks for watching, and thanks for learning.